I'm so excited in this podcast, and I'd love you to join me for the next 15 or so minutes to celebrate with me. Because literally, if you feel like you are at rock bottom right now, you need to stay tuned, because I am now officially a Hay House author. Massive welcome to Trauma and Narcissism Redefined, your weekly dose of education, a bit of inspiration, hope, and of course a little bit of humour thrown in. And I'm so excited to share with you that my book launched last week on July the 16th, How to Heal After Narcissistic Abuse with Hay House, and it is doing incredibly well. It's been in the charts. It's honestly, I have to pinch myself. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, and it certainly isn't to impress you or to say all of these things. It's really to impress upon you where your life could be in X amount of years. 11 years ago, I was literally at rock bottom. I'd start my day sitting on my bathroom floor, desperately trying not to have a panic attack, self-harming, suffering with anxiety, depression, and PTSD, although I know now it was complex PTSD. And I could not see a light at the end of the tunnel. I'd come out of an abusive marriage that I realized he was a covert narcissist. My mum had died very, very suddenly, and I had no money. I was this single mom with this broken home, and I didn't know what to do. I felt like a failure. I felt like I was getting older, but my life was going downhill. And in April 2013, my house got repossessed. So I was made homeless with my two children, a really low point in my life, because I felt this complete failure, that I was older, but I was going backwards. And this set me off on this journey of learning about narcissism, trauma, all of the things that I speak about right now, because a lot of the things that I was trying to heal myself, they worked in the moment and I felt marginally better. And this was really counseling, psychotherapy, therapy, talking therapy. And this is not about saying that there is no worth in that, and it can work for some people. But for me, it worked in the session and maybe for a little bit of time afterwards, because I felt good. Someone was listening to me. Someone was telling me that it wasn't my fault. Someone was validating my experiences and helping me lift that shame. But the problem being is all of the things that were causing those triggers for me, for emotional eating, self-harm, anger, all of those things, crying, isolating myself, so I could have quite happily become an agoraphobic. All of those things were still there. So whilst I was managing symptoms in the moment, speaking to somebody and feeling marginally better, I actually ended up feeling even worse, because I thought, what is wrong with you, Caroline? Why are you not getting better? Why are you still reacting? You're such an emotional wreck. What is wrong with you? And that's when I embarked really on a journey of my own self-discovery, my own retraining. I used to be a podiatrist, so I was a foot doctor from the medical profession, and completely retrained. And interestingly, this book, which is How to Heal After Narcissistic Abuse, I'll be honest, I really shied away from being a voice for narcissism at the start of my business and my own journey. And the main reason being is because that word narcissist is a very divisive word. And I remember when I started my business, and, I work with men and women, but it was a lot of women that were coming to me predominantly that had been in these abusive relationships and were totally lost in themselves, feeling like they wanted to be the best parent, feeling like they had no money, kind of a repeat of what I had experienced and I had been through myself. But there was a real common theme around abusive and toxic relationships, and that could have been from childhood and also adulthood. Often it transcends into both. And a lot of the word narcissist was coming up. And now I'd had a real light bulb moment about realizing my ex was a covert narcissist. And, I researched and looked at things, having a science background. I like reading and looking at things and researching. And I really felt like I had a deep grasp and understanding of that. I had a real issue with the medicalization of narcissistic personality disorder. And actually that transcends into every type of disorder that really is listed in the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which is used by mental health professionals to diagnose these mental health conditions. But if you actually look in the DSM and look at what is used, the traits, the symptoms, we're really just giving labels for symptoms of often responses in our body to our past experiences to try and keep us safe. We're labeling them so that obviously we could give pharmaceuticals to them or whatever we would want to help that person. Very often, if these worked, why is it we're living in a mental mental health crisis. Hello, what is wrong with the world? So, I was really curious about all of this, questioning that. Well, hold on a second. If we're meant to be in the 21st century and pharmaceuticals are meant to be so good, why is it a lot of people are feeling really rubbish still and ending up in these types of relationships? And so this really embarked on a whole retraining around somatic work. So many of you know that I do a lot of deep healing work, trauma work with my clients, but it's very somatic based. Yes, it's cognitive and we talk about it, but it's very somatic. We're working at a nervous system level. And the moment I started working on this and obviously retraining in it, that's when everything shifted. Some key things that I am trained in that completely transformed my own life with things like somatic experiencing, internal family systems, which is an evidence-based parts therapy, brain spotting, breath work, positive psychology, and EMDR. Those things, of which I am trained in all, massively help me and massively helps my clients. I see the most incredible transformations when I work with people, not just in the moment when they feel good working with me, but a toolkit when they go outside of my office door, or obviously if I do online sessions with them. But going back to this whole narcissism piece, I kept shying away from it at the start of my business. I'm not going there. Oh my God, I'm not stepping into that arena. Thank you very much. It is divisive. No, thank you. But it kept coming up. And I got to the stage where I thought, Caroline, you can either keep moving away from it because of the division that is in the world around narcissism, or you can go and do something about it. You can be a voice. You can be a voice of reason out there and maybe re-educate people, maybe talk about it through a different lens. And that's exactly what I do. So I don't medicalize narcissistic personality disorder. You will never hear me talking about anyone having narcissistic personality disorder. Never. That's not to say if that's what you agree with, I'm open to debate and conversation. For me, the word narcissist is a collective term we give to a wounded individual, because they're not born, a wounded individual who has this collection and cluster of their own protector parts, because they are deeply wounded individuals. But those protector parts become things like gaslighting, coercive control, manipulation, and all of those we can collectively call a narcissist. Same with a codependent. They tend to be more reactive parts of things like people pleasing, perfectionism, dissociation. And we might then call someone a codependent. Just like we'd call a car, we wouldn't call it a chassis or a steering wheel or a tire. We call a car because we know in our mind we have a vision of what a car is, and it's a collection of those parts. Same with a narcissist, same with a codependent. It's one of the reasons Glennon Doyle asked me to be on her podcast, because I look at narcissism through a trauma-informed narcissism and a lens of internal family systems. It is still a very human-centered approach, but it doesn't excuse abuse, because we can't excuse abuse. So this book then came about really not what I expected, because I didn't expect to enter into the world of narcissism. So trauma and narcissism is my bag. I'm a trauma geek, and my own story is narcissistic abuse. That was part of my own trauma. And so I love to talk about both, because I think it resonates with, everybody's experienced trauma. And a lot of people, once they get talking to me, start to think, oh yeah, I think I've experienced that as well. So where I am today, all these years later, running a multi-7-figure business, like literally financially independent, doing what I love, sharing things like this to give you hope and inspiration, because oh my God, if you could see me years ago, you would not recognize me. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, I apologize, because I actually need my hair washing. It's in a ponytail at the moment. So, I'm not looking my best today. But that is because I've had a super, super busy week, because obviously we've been in launch mode with the book. And I really want to share this book with you. If you are experiencing any form of narcissistic abuse, or you have in the past, I really urge you to get hold of this book. Not only is it a real kind of homage to my own experiences. It's about you not staying as long as I did. There's so much education in here about narcissism through an internal family systems lens, a trauma-informed lens, really starting to see it very differently than a medicalization of things, which most people, whenever I explain that and educate them on that, it makes sense. It makes more sense because you can relate it to yourself, not that you're a narcissist, by the way, but how I talk about it from a parts perspective. And also what you can do about it. So there's, you don't need to be going out and focusing on the narcissist all the time because that's not going to heal you, remember. But it does give you all the information and education you're going to need to have a really good foundational understanding, because I do get that. That is really important to have. But then it also has so many other things to be able to help you, like understanding your nervous system, trauma bonding, codependency, about the fact that it's not your fault, because it isn't your fault at all. There are meditations in there, awakening to post-traumatic growth. I don't want you to just survive after all of this and go back to a mediocre life. Hell no. I want you to thrive and flourish. I want you to live a life like I'm living right now, connected. All of these things that I know go out of the window when we're experiencing narcissistic abuse too. There's a really, really great chapter all about your hero or heroine's journey as well, and it takes you on your own story of healing. It really is so powerful with the exercises. Healing your inner child, you'll get to know all about your attachment styles, mapping your inner system, I call this self-navigation mapping, impact of narcissistic abuse on children. So it's get this in your hands. Honestly, this is the healing Bible I wish I had. This is what you're going to need to help you heal. And obviously it came out as a publication last Tuesday, but it's been the pre-order since then. So this is one of the books that I've got in my hand. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be seeing it. If you're listening to this on a podcast, you'll just be hearing the book. Oh, there's something about smelling a book, isn't there? There really is. I was going to tell you a funny story. My mum, when she was pregnant with me, you know how we get cravings? I know I'm digressing here, but we're all family, right? And my mum used to eat the Times newspaper when she was pregnant. That was her craving. But it had to be, for those of you who are in the UK, it used to be a really big like newspaper, like a very professional one. Still is, kind of. And it was the type of paper. My mum would eat it. Crazy. But then I say that when I was pregnant, I used to, in between bricks, the cement, I used to pick bits of the cement off it because it was so crunchy. I do not know why I had that craving. Let me know if you had any weird cravings. Do let me know on Instagram if you've had any crazier cravings than that. Obviously once I've had my children, it obviously went. But for both of them, I had that craving. How bizarre. Maybe my mum, because she was having the Times and the Telegraph and eating those newspapers, that maybe that's why, I've got an academic background in that too. But this book is really the healing Bible, and I'd love you to have it in your hands. And one of the main reasons for that is the more we can get this up the charts and keep going up the charts, the more visible the conversations are about narcissism. I know, like myself, probably when you've talked about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, your ex being a narcissist, your parent being a narcissist, you get the eye rolling, don't you? You get that look, the look of judgment of, God, not that word again. We all have it, right? And I don't want you to have to keep putting up with this. It needs to be more mainstream. And by you purchasing this, it's not a lot, and you can get it on Audible as well. You can get it on Kindle. All of these things. Please, please, please purchase it. Buy it as a gift for somebody. Maybe that's experiencing this right now. It really is. Blood, sweat, and tears has gone into all of this to really help everybody educate, heal, thrive after narcissistic abuse. And I'd love you to get your hands on it as well. So it's really just, my journey to where I am. Who'd have thought, and I have to pinch myself, who'd have thought 10 years ago I would be sitting here right now with my book in my hand, published by Hay House and Penguin Random House, that I am a published author with these amazing publishing company. I would not have thought that. So do not give up on hope, okay? Make sure you're surrounded by people who care and love you. And again, I'll pop the link to the book in the show notes, so please go ahead and pre-order. And I will also pop some links of joining some of my free Facebook groups as well. So you're not on your own in any of this. I never want anyone to feel alone in this, because I felt alone. I felt ashamed. I felt like crazy. as such. And if you feel like that, don't feel like that. Come and join my world. Come and be part of my family and part of my community. You really do matter. We try and reply to every single person. We really, really do. But get your hands on this book. It's going to change your life, whether that's Audible, whether that's Kindle, whether that's the paperback. Oh, love this. I'm not going to eat it, by the way. Or maybe if my mum... See, this is the thing. My mum loved books. And it's dedicated to my mum, Linda Patricia Hovland. And she'd have just been so proud if she was alive now seeing this. She really, really would. She really would. So, know that where you are right now doesn't mean where you're going to stay. And, I'd love, love, love this to be in your hands to help and support you heal. Don't stay as long as I did for so long. It's inexpensive. It's easily accessible for you. And I'd love you to be part of the celebration of all of this too. So take care, my friends, and I'll see you on the next episode.